Anti-nuclear demonstrators form 14-mile human chain. Heseltine says it's a naive and reckless road. Up to 500 dead in Colombian earthquake. And the first baby condor is born in captivity. Good evening. Supporters of the campaign for nuclear disarmament started to pack up and leave Berkshire tonight after their mass demonstration against 3 key nuclear installations. CND say it was the most moving and hugely successful protest Britain has seen, with 80,000 men, women and children joining in. Police say the figure was nearer 40,000. The campaigners lined the 14-mile way from Greenham Common Air Base, which is being prepared for cruise missiles, to the Royal Ordnance Factory at Burfield, where nuclear warheads for the Navy's Polaris submarines are made.
The turnout exceeded all expectations. From early morning, roads leading to Berkshire's so-called Nuclear Valley were filled with coaches bringing peace campaigners from all over the country. It was one of the most ambitious demonstrations CND had organised, and officials were angry at the government's attempts to denigrate it.
Last night, Mrs. Thatcher and Mr. Heseltine hit, unbelievable as it may seem, a new low. A low of trivializing the issue that is bringing thousands of people into this damp common and on these damp streets today. I think that their use of the propaganda stunt of the Berlin Wall was hypocritical, cowardly, and cheapjack.
At Greenham Common, the blockade of the airbase continued. Some militant women campaigners succeeded once again in scaling the perimeter fence. Altogether, 187 people were detained for trespassing during the day by Ministry of Defence security guards. Along the 14-mile route between Greenham and Burfield, there was often confusion. Some demonstrators abandoned their positions early, thinking the link-up was already over. CND stewards asked them to return. In the carnival spirit of the day, it hardly seemed to matter. Then, just after 2 o'clock, officials reckoned the human chain was complete. Tens of thousands of people had turned out. Often the roads were lined on both sides, and the mood was euphoric. It's doubtful, though, that organisers achieved their full objective of one single coherent link-up. But the symbolic gesture had been fully made. Weapons factory, nuclear research establishment and missile bases were joined together by a chain of people committed to the removal of them all. For the demonstrators, it was a long day. Many had travelled all night to get here. Critics might argue with their viewpoint, but surely not with their commitment.
We're ordinary British people who feel strongly that we want a peaceful future, and we won't get it with nuclear weapons on our territories.
Well, we hope that we've made people think about the nuclear weapons issue more seriously than perhaps some of them have done so far.
To show exactly what we feel about those nuclear weapons and why we're here, and that's why I'm here, for my daughter, because I want a tomorrow's world for her. It's quite simple.
Mrs. Thatcher says you should be linking arms around the Berlin Wall rather than here.
Mrs. Thatcher should be doing something for peace instead of telling us what we should be doing. What's she done for peace?
The demonstration ended with a rally on Padworth Common, close to Aldermaston. CND leaders were clearly delighted at the response and the challenge it posed to the government.
This has been the most moving, imaginative, and I think hugely successful demonstration of all time in Britain. We've demonstrated again that we oppose the manufacture of nuclear weapons and the deployment of nuclear weapons and research into any future nuclear weapons. We will have none of it.
If nothing else, the demonstration brought a touch of colour and humour to the Berkshire countryside today, but that did little to obscure the seriousness of the issues. Mrs. Thatcher has made no secret of her distaste for this weekend's protests, nor her belief, shared by President Reagan, that these people are at best misguided, at worst dangerous and subversive.
People are trying to get in and out
The Prime Minister was herself the target of many demonstrators today who said the movement is too strong to be ignored. And the sheer size of the rally will give added weight to those who are opposing the sighting of new American missiles, not only in Britain, but anywhere in Europe. Norman Rees, News at 10 at the CND rally in Berkshire.
The Defence Secretary, Mr. Michael Heseltine, who's just returned from a visit to the Berlin Wall, said the anti-nuclear demonstrators were going down a naive and reckless road. He said it would be an unforgivable gamble for the West to do what they advocated. The Soviet Union would use force ruthlessly where it thought it could win.
So I have got the simplest of messages for those who march today. You do so in freedom, and that freedom is your right, and I am charged with its defense. However much I may deplore the inconvenience and the cost you impose on the majority of us who don't share your views. But don't believe for one moment that we will risk that freedom, our freedom as well as yours, by following you along a naive and reckless road.
About 10,000 West Germans joined anti-nuclear and peace demonstrations today. There were scuffles at an American base at Neu-Ulm in the south, one of the 15 bases being blockaded. 2 demonstrators were hurt. One was bitten by a police dog as police cleared the main gate. Tear gas was fired and 1 woman was arrested. In South America, rescuers are still sifting through the rubble of the city of Popayan in Colombia, which has been badly damaged by an earthquake. At least 500 people are feared to be dead. Many of them were attending an Easter service in the cathedral when the tremor started and the roof collapsed. The rescue teams used their bare hands to dig through the rubble. Large areas of the city have been flattened. There are about 2,000 injured, and it's estimated that 15,000 people are homeless. Some will never return. The Red Cross says the death toll could rise. Many more bodies could still be under the rubble. The 3 Russians ordered out of Britain for spying were almost certainly given away by the Soviet defector Vladimir Kuzichkin, sources in Whitehall said tonight. He was a major in the KGB and vice-consul in Iran before he defected to Britain last year. He's still being debriefed by MI6, and more expulsions of Warsaw Pact diplomats may follow. Spain today expelled a Russian diplomat for spying. The foreign ministry there refused to name him or to comment on reports that 3 more Russian diplomats would be expelled soon. In Dublin, a pub fight led to 11 men being questioned by police in connection with the outlawed Irish National Liberation Army. The men were taken to the local police headquarters but later released. Membership of the INLA carries a maximum penalty of 7 years in jail. Nigeria has announced it will hold its oil price unchanged at $30 a barrel, despite Britain's 50-cent cut in North Sea prices earlier this week. Nigeria had threatened to match cent for cent any cut by Britain. In Rome, the Pope has performed the traditional Easter ceremony of washing and kissing the feet of 12 orphan boys, the gesture Christ made to his apostles at the Last Supper. Exactly a year after Argentina invaded the Falklands, the South Atlantic Fund, set up to help widows and injured British servicemen, has collected a total of £15 million, and it's still getting £2,000 a day in donations. Kim Sabido reports on how one naval officer, blinded in the fighting, has been helped by the fund.
May the 21st, 1982, in San Carlos water, HMS Antrim, among other ships, is strafed by Argentine jets. It doesn't sink, but men are injured. Among them, Chief Petty Officer Terry Bullingham, the only man in the task force to be totally blinded. 10 months on, and thanks to St Dunstan's Rehabilitation Centre at Brighton and cash from the South Atlantic Fund, he's fulfilled his wish to start work at the Fleet Air Arm Museum at Yeovilton. Terry is on a 6-month trial as an information officer and lecturer, helping the public.
We went down there. Well, I personally was involved operationally till the 21st of May, so I got caught.
And ironically, showing the public around the very helicopter he was working on when he was hit. He still refers to it affectionately as Humphrey.
How did the Navy help you to come back from those injuries?
They taught me to type, read and write Braille, and to get a mobility using the long cane. So you know, in a far better situation now to cope, and things are just getting better and better all the time, daily.
And how has the South Atlantic Fund helped in this way?
I've had an interim payment, and as for me as an injured personnel, I don't think I get my final payment till the autumn.
The fund's offices in London contain a staff of only 5. Out of the £15 million given so far, more than £5 million has already been paid out. Money for adapting houses and cars for the disabled and providing wheelchairs. As for Terry, there's only one priority for him now.
Just get on with getting on with living and enjoying life. At least I'm alive.
Dame Naomi James, the widow of the international yachtsman Rob James, has had a baby girl. She's to be called Lois, the name the couple chose before Rob James drowned off the Devon coast 12 days ago. Just one late soccer result tonight in Division 4, Scunthorpe 2, Halifax 0. And finally, the first California condor to be hatched in captivity is doing well in San Diego Zoo. The weird-looking chick was helped from its egg by excited laboratory technicians who hope it'll save the endangered species, now down to 20 birds. It weighed half a pound at birth, but is growing fast on a diet of chopped baby mice. Later, it'll be fed by Puppet.
It's very important that they know that they're a California condor, not a person. Birds can be improperly imprinted. Whatever takes care of them, they think it's mom.
It's getting more vocal by the hour. And if it survives, it'll help to make the spectacular flight of the adult condor a less rare sight. And what could be a better Easter present for everybody? That's the news tonight. Happy Easter. Good night.